Whether you're just starting out or scaling your security program, building trust and demonstrating strong security practices is more important than ever. Banter automates compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2 and more, saving you time, money and effort while strengthening customer trust. Plus, with automated security questionnaires and a customer-facing trust center, you can streamline security reviews and showcase your IT infrastructure security. Over 9,000 global companies, including Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora, already trust Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. Get an exclusive $1,000 discount now at vanta.com/startupradio.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your go-to source for all things startups, innovation and entrepreneurship. Today we're driving into this game-changing startup that's redefining how businesses manage their time. Timify. Join us, which is Emmanuel Simon, to share the story behind the company, its vision for the future, and how it's tackling one of the biggest pain points in schedule and workforce management. So, if you're struggled with double bookings, no-shows, or inefficiencies in managing appointments, this episode is for you. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss a thing. Emmanuel, hello and welcome.
Hi, Joe, and thank you for having me.
Totally my pleasure. We may add up front that we worked in the past together, which is, I do believe, something like 15 years ago.
Must be that long ago, yes.
Yes. Oh, we are really getting old. Welcome to Startup Radio. Today we're diving into your world of Timify, and in 60 seconds, can you give us an idea what you did before and how you got involved into Timify?
Yes, for sure. Basically, I am a banking baby. I grew up my whole business life in banking, in a management consulting company, working for many banks in the IT environment. And then I joined UniCredit in various managerial roles. I was an assistant to a board member in the corporate and investment banking, and I also run a huge project in UniCredit globally to transform the bank within a 13 billion euro capital increase on the cost and the IT side. Before I had the pleasure to join Timify in a position where basically Timify was growing out of the startup into the scale up, although I don't like the terminology scale up a lot. For me, Timify is like a raw but strong teenage boy, became quite tall in height, big muscles, but also still a bit foolish and childish. And now my goal is to professionalize Timify, to make it profitable, have some very clear organization and also processes, not over-engineer it, not like in a bank. So we have to still be agile, fast, and speedy, and overall very client-driven. That is basically my goal, was for the last 2.5 years and will be for the next, hopefully, quite some time.
Timify. Yeah, that actually makes more sense. For our audience, I would be curious, leave us a comment. What do you think is the biggest problem Timify is solving?
There are actually two. Number one, enterprise and corporate companies, they like to hide behind their big castles because they're behind their nice glass walls of their offices. So the client is sometimes standing in front of that. And we are basically destructing those walls where our clients build in relation to their customers. That's number one. We connect our clients with their customers. Number two, our clients do have scarce resources, whatever that be, rooms, machines, human beings, salespeople, sellers in a department store, whatever the resource of our client is. We make sure and guarantee that these expensive and scarce resources like salespeople are allocated very efficient to the services our client provide, and then interact with their customers to make sure that the customers of our client do have a seamless and very straightforward customer journey to increase revenues and make sure that the customer of our client is a happy customer.
You are, as always, a pretty fast guy. You've always been pretty sporty, and you're way ahead of us here. Let's go a little bit back. We can already tell you're not one of the founders, but you were hired for this position. Can you take us back to the moment you said, let's join this company. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit bored of consulting and banking.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Because if you would have asked me like 3-4 years ago, I would have never skipped my nice, well-paid, and very secure job in banking. I had a very interesting environment there, a lot of C-level and senior attention, big figures, big projects. But in the end, I had the opportunity to take over Timify, and I strongly believe, and I have the deepest respect for the decision that especially founders who grew a little baby, their own baby from scratch, 1 employee, 2 employees, maybe 2-3 founders, and you have a couple first clients, you have 10 colleagues working with you. But there comes a point where you need some kind of different management style, right? So people who are able to found a company from scratch might not be the right person and might not have the right skill set to grow a company from 50 up to 100 employees. On the other side, I clearly have to admit, I would have not been able to found a company like Timify or any other company. That's simply not my home turf, right? But managing 50, 60, 70, 80 people, giving them a clear strategy, supporting this strategy with a clear vision and mission based on a clear foundation in terms of organization, company organization, supported once again by a healthy amount of processes, still keeping flexibility, taking also sometimes hard decisions, right? That's what you also have to do. It's not always sunshine every day. That is a bit more my sweet spot, right? And if you look back at most likely many founders, sometimes you cannot play business as you want to because you need a favor left, a favor right. You're happy for the first client. You give to this client maybe more than you wanted to provide in terms of services or support. And then how do you get back from this very personal interaction and lift and come to the next professional level, which is simply a more professionalized setup? The downside is you might lose a bit of your spirit. Yes, that's right. But it's sometimes simply required. As I said, scale up is I think not a right term, but if you look at companies like Timify after a couple of years, like a teenage boy, I mean, there's a lot of potential, right? There's a lot of power, there's a lot of energy, but it has to be centralized and streamlined. And that is, as I said, pretty much my sweet spot. And so far it's running, I would say, good.
People can already tell you're a dad.
I am.
Yes, there is a difference in skill set from founding a company to leading a growing company. And I actually realized some of the entrepreneurs, they just stagnate, but the company stagnates together with them. They stay on a certain level, maybe 50 employees, and then it doesn't grow anymore.
There is a reason, right? If you look at big corporates and big enterprise companies, why managers move from different departments, different teams, different managerial roles every 3 to, I would say, 6 years, right? There is simply a reason. It does make sense. If you work for a long time with the same people in the same environment. You don't see new opportunities, you see old issues, right? So sometimes you just need a fresh pair of eyes, a fresh mindset. It doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job, not at all. But if you sometimes have new input, a little job rotation, it helps, right? It simply helps to increase understanding for the other side. If I change job completely in a big enterprise company from department A to department B, I take my knowledge with me, and then I can try to connect and bring people together and increase understanding for both sides. It's like with traveling and understanding different cultures. That's the same model in a big enterprise, and that's also for small companies. You simply have to see, is the leadership that was able to start a company also able to run a company that is growing in whatever size. I have to clearly admit, I have the deepest, really, respect of funding a company. I tell you honestly, I would be, I think, even too scared, and I would not be in a position to do that. But then taking over from a certain point in terms of development and also growth is pretty much my sweet spot, and that's where I can really see, with a corporate or enterprise know-how and experience, you can create big value add to smaller companies. Is that always the case? No. I'm pretty sure that there are many founders who can go all the way and who are also developing in that way, but not all. And hence then realizing that it might be time for a change also is something that I have to admire, and I clearly have to express my respect.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I see. So you're in favor of moving management roles every few years. So I'll avoid asking you what you're planning to do in 5 years.
Honestly, I do not know. Hopefully Timify is growing very well. But 5 years, I don't know.
What was the major challenge you faced when you joined Timify in your early days as CEO?
Well, number one, as I said, is really professionalizing the whole structure, making sure everybody knows his, her role and position, how to interact. That is number one. Number two, I joined Timify at I would say, economically changing time, right? In the last, I would say, 10, 12 years, the macroeconomic environment was in favor of startups. I think with the zero interest policy in the last couple of years, growth at all cost was simply the mantra of the market. You had to show growth. Was growth profitable? Was not the important question, right? When I joined Timify, the macroeconomic situation was different. Basically, interest rates rose. Money was worth something again. So I clearly had the task to make Timify profitable. We had to grow, but we also had to look at cost, right? There are two sides of a balance sheet. One is top line, but there's also a bottom line. And in between, you somehow have to manage your cost and make sure that your margin is somewhere there. So this was the second big challenge, making clear that we have to become profitable, which you can influence by top line growth, number one, but also becoming more efficient, right? If you produce new features, but for example, your hosting costs are outrageous and never will be covered by the license fees you earn from your clients, well, you have to rethink the whole thing, I would say, right? In the past, the feature was everything. Make it fancy, make it shiny. As long as it's there. I think we are now with money worth again something we're in a different world where you have to become profitable, you have to show a margin, you have to show a solid growth that didn't change. But I think the focus became a bit, or moved a bit away from growth to the overall picture of a balance sheet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Going a little bit into the industry and market landscape, like to play a little what-if game. If Timify becomes a household name, what industry shift made that possible?
Well, number one, Corona was a big boost for us, I have to admit. There was the lockdown, and you were able to only open your stores with click and collect. That was quite convenient. We onboarded thousands of stores over the weekend. So that was a big booster for us. Overall, also, I see that economic issues in the German and core European industry are pushing our business in terms of making sure that the very cost sensitive resources like salesperson, like people who work at a department store, have to be, they have to keep busy, right? I mean, if you work in banking, you're obliged to have roughly 4 to 5 sales meetings per day. If you only have 4 versus 5 and do that every day, at the end of the week, you have 20% less revenues, and your boss will knock on your door saying, hey Joe, what's going on? Why did your revenues drop, right? So we are ensuring that there is a very efficient allocation of these salespeople, for example, in a bank with the customers of a bank, that as soon as somebody is canceling a meeting, there are another meetings coming in, or there's somebody actively contacted who has a meeting in 2 weeks' time. Hey, we got a slot earlier up front. You want to take the opportunity, and we fill up the calendar. At the same time, we reduce extremely the manual effort, which is a stupid effort, of aligning meetings, right? Just if it's a one-on-one relationship, you, me, we agree on a meeting, that's easy, right? But just assume there are 4 or 5 participants and you're coordinating that's crazy, right? And we send out a booking link and you book it, that's fair.
It really depends how much you are, you know each other, what time zones you are in. Before I used such a solution, I was actually mailing back and forth 5 to 10 times, just simple emails on availability, and that's where I cut all of that.
Exactly.
People already notice you're a little bit bigger scheduling solutions than they are familiar with. What do people get wrong about scheduling solutions, and what are you doing differently here than many of your competitors?
Yeah. Well, then let me start with our competitors. So Timify is very clear. We are the Calendly for grown-ups, right? If you compare us with our competitors, the big ones, Calendly, Microsoft Bookings, Google Calendar, they're all very good, right? We can do the same, but they're good in one-to-one relationships. You open your calendar, I book a meeting, I click on the link, boom, ready, right? But Timify then basically starts where those solutions end for the sophisticated and complex use case. Or let me describe it in mathematical terms, where N stands for a placeholder of a big figure, and we solve the equation N times 4. N multiplied by N, multiplied by N, multiplied by N. First N is our clients to have many locations, stores, departments, sales hubs, whatever it is, right? Number 2, our clients to have many resources. As I said, can be a salesperson, a room, a laptop, a machine, a chair, a table, what do I know?
Can it also be a technician you can send somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. A software, for example, right? A software version can be our resource. Then basically you can make those resources smart, right? You can give them tags and attributes, e.g. if you work in banking and you need a special certification, to sell mortgage loans. Maybe you need one certification, mortgage loans up to 1 million, and another certification, 1 million and upwards, right? Or you need another certification to sell stock options and derivatives, right? So we connect the resources with their skill set. In any combination, we can combine the resources. We say, well, for this meeting, we need resource A because he has this skill set, and resource B for that skill set. Or you choose out of a pool of resources colleagues who have the same skill set. That's the second N. The third N is the services. You can then connect any kind of service you want to provide with those different resources on any date or place you want, right? You can say in the morning, our sales guy is only available in that combination with that skill set in location A, and in the afternoon only in location B, right? And you see if N becomes a big figure, it's quite a complex equation we solve. And the fourth N is hopefully a huge amount of customers our clients do have. And then they're basically going through a very seamless journey, and hopefully in the end, sign a contract, cut a deal, pay a product, buy a product, whatever it is, right? Our clients offer to their customers. So in a nutshell, basically, excuse me? No, in a nutshell, if you look at Microsoft, allow me the expression, Microsoft Google is pretty much the entry drug into scheduling, right? Once you're not happy anymore with Microsoft scheduling facilities, which is free of charge as soon as you have a Microsoft license, which is quite expensive. Basically, companies come to us because you don't write Microsoft an email saying, hey, I have this edge case here. Can you help me out, please? You do with us. We have a very clear philosophy of supporting and listening to our clients, which we do, and we don't onboard them and leave them alone. We're there for our clients, actually.
Mm-hmm. When you painted that mental picture, what I had in mind is that you can manage a big organization in terms of sales, in terms of customer support, in terms of technical support, across different time zones.
Exactly. Time zone is totally included. That's not a topic we have to deal with. Also like holidays or national holidays, sick days. A very nice feature we just released. If you have a sales team of 5 people, right? Sales team, they have certain skills. They have meeting slots, etc. pp. Then with a connection to the HR tool from our client, one sales guy calls in sick, right? Which usually means someone has to call the customers, cancel 5 appointments, reschedule for the next week, whatever it is, right? With our system, the system checks, the customer needed service A. We have maybe other 4 resources who can provide the service, and there's one resource free at exactly that time slot, and is automatically rescheduling the meeting to avoid that the client is maybe entering a meeting without having somebody covering from the client side, or the meeting has to be postponed. So we make sure that the calendars is filled up properly, and our sales colleagues are kept busy, and then also creating a positive impact on the revenue creation of our client.
Mm-hmm. So, before I get to the next question that I had while you were talking, I was wondering, can you get KPIs, for example, for marketing? How many requests are coming in, and how close you are to capacity in terms of your sales for marketing? Do more of this, do more of that?
Yeah, you have a huge statistic area where you can see how many bookings, which day, which time actually the bookings have been scheduled. So you can, if you see all your bookings have been scheduled, let's assume in the evening between 7 and 11 p.m. for the next day. Okay, then you can say, well, I want to increase my paid advertisement on Google, because an hour before that, so you start at 6, where people start looking for that kind of service, that kind of slot. increase your capacity on SEA exactly on that time slot, and then make sure your advertisement is placed right time, right spot.
So, were you talking? I also had another question. In how many languages is your solution available?
You have to differentiate from customer point of view. So the booker who's booking a meeting, pretty much unlimited. Our system where our client, the end user, is using, I think we currently have, you got me, it's almost 20 languages.
Almost 20 languages, because I had a conversation with one of my consulting clients last night, and actually I was forced to explain how many upcoming holidays we do have and when they are. Just looking here at my calendar, for example, that the Friday before Easter and the Monday after Easter is a public holiday, that we do have 2 Thursdays coming up that are public holidays in multiple states of Germany, that we do have with Monday and so on and so forth. So there's a lot you need to explain. Do you also have a solution for that for international clients?
That is the core of Timify. You don't have to worry about that. All international holidays are covered. So, for example, if you're sending out, I don't know, if you're trying to coordinate a meeting on Friday before Easter, it's simply impossible because it's automatically blocked. Unless you unblock it manually if you want to work on Easter Friday.
Depends on your relationship with their family, right?
Exactly.
Beyond features, what kind of experience do you want users to have when interacting with Timify? First, like your customers and the customers of your customers, which is the thing your customers are actually buying it for. Okay, and now diagram this sentence in your head.
Well, with our clients, I want them to realize how powerful Timify is and how extremely deep are the possibilities of customization, right? It really reduces the manual effort coordinating meetings for our clients. On the customer side, which we also call the booker who's booking a meeting, we can customize also this journey. Basically, we do have many clients who use us in their HR department. Alrighty. If you, for example, look at hiring processes, I mean, everybody who applied for a job in the last couple of years knows maybe the first interview is easy, right? But you have to coordinate a meeting. The second interview, maybe you need a team head and an HR guy, and then you're playing with meetings. You get an email, 3 slots. You say, yes, I want the first slot. Then you get a reply, sorry, now the first slot is not available anymore. Now we have 3 different slots. Pick one, and then it goes back and forth, and you have email ping pong. Terrible, right? Or how cool would that be if you apply for a job, you simply click on the booking link, you have the meeting scheduled with the 2 people or 3 people you need. After that, the HR guy says, hey, that was a good interview. We continue. Automatically, our system sends out another email saying, hey, congratulations, you made the next step. Now you interview with the big boss, another HR guy and a team colleague, whatever. Again, click here. And a couple hours or days or an hour before the meeting, you also get a reminder SMS to make sure that you do not miss your meeting. So in that perspective, if I look at the HR case from the applicant point of view, our clients have 2 scenarios, right? If you look for a DevOps developer who is highly skilled, basically companies are happy if those people simply apply, right? So they need name, email address, maybe a phone number. That's simply apply, right? There are other jobs where you say, well, I want to, make it a bit more tricky to receive applications. So I want to have an upload of your CV. I need your driving license uploaded, some comments, a free field where you enter some text about you, and I need your residence, etc. pp. So that you avoid that everybody is applying for the job, and you have some kind of criteria why people apply, right? So in that perspective, from the booker side, I always want to make it very easy to book an appointment. What I want to say is that there are also situations where you can make it a bit more complicated so people do not book appointments, right? Nevertheless, from a customer or booker point of view, it simply has to be seamless and very clear, right? You need a couple of clicks and then you enter into your appointment. And of course, we don't have to talk about reminders and synchronization to your preferred email and Outlook mailbox and calendar system.
I was wondering when you talked about this scheduling with 3 people from HR, if somebody from the HR people calls in sick that day, basically your tool can reassign. If there's a acceptable substitute, you can replace this person in the interview, and you don't have to reschedule with the client, with a potential employee, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was wondering, how are you leveraging AI and automation in all of that?
Yeah. So we do have, we released just recently our Timify assistant, which is an additional feature from Timify. We can produce and very fast create skills for our client. As I said, this rescheduling assistant or early slot waitlist, or the next skill set will be a birthday or event promotion that you automatically remind people and send maybe voucher codes or gift cards, or hey Joe, happy birthday. We haven't heard for a long time. Why don't you want to book a meeting with whatever your counterpart at your trusted bank you're working with, or something like that. These are skill sets AI supported, where we basically, with intention to reduce once again the manual effort regarding scheduling and support our clients in optimizing their interaction with their customers. And our goal is basically quite easy. This whole back and forth email scheduling should be optimized, right? That's very easy. You should not worry about, oh, God damn it, I have to coordinate meetings for groups, for single bookings, for multiple bookings, for recurring bookings. You should not. You should press some buttons, best case in our Timify environment, and then everything runs automatically.
Plus an automated or partially automated allocation of resources. I vividly remember how difficult it was back in the days to book a meeting room for any given meeting.
Yeah, that is true. That should simply not be part of our daily business day.
We'll be back after a short ad break where we talk about business model and growth strategy.
Elevate your digital audio advertising with AdsWiz's solutions. Our suite of advertiser tools allows for personalized and impactful campaigns that reach your target audiences through innovative and engaging channels. From global agencies to trading desks and exchanges, AdsWiz takes your brand awareness and performance marketing goals to the next level. Take your digital audio advertising to the next level today.
Hey guys, welcome back to our interview with Emmanuel Simon, CEO of Timify Next Generation Scheduling and I would say resource allocation tool. We are talking about your business model and growth strategy here. What's the revenue engine of Timify? Can you break it down simply?
Well, in terms of verticals, we are widely spread. We do have benchmark clients in the banking environment, insurance, optician segment, also hearing aid is becoming more and more. Actually, recently, bike industry, electric bike industry becomes bigger for us. So overall, one can say that wherever there is more demand on scheduling than an easy one-to-one relationship, that's where the sweet spot of Timify is, and that's where our growth perspective and opportunities jump in. We're not specialized on any vertical. That's the beauty of Timify. If you tomorrow say, instead of selling cars or e-bikes, I want to sell red gummy bears, you sell red gummy bears. We don't stop you to do so. And tomorrow you offer services selling red gummy bears. You can do it actually in milliseconds, right? So we don't stop our clients to grow. Actually, we want to partner up with them. We want to support them to grow. If you want to open a new store tomorrow, well, don't worry about scheduling and making it possible. We are there. In terms of product development, next to our Timify assistant, we just released queuing will become our next big thing, because queuing and scheduling is related, and my IT colleagues are working heavily on an extremely outstanding queuing solution that is then fully integrated into your scheduling, where you can prioritize, you can define VIP clients, you can maybe prioritize even people who, I don't know, if a mother with 2 kids and pregnant is coming in, boom, you prioritize her and she gets the next free slot for the services you offer, or whatever you fancy, including a hardware support. We don't do that by ourselves, but we have a partner who's providing a hardware support in terms of tablets and screens, etc., for your point of sales.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, queuing in terms of just simply email booking links, in terms of phone, or even with a chatbot on the website?
Yeah, that's basically everything. So just assume you have scheduling already, and let's assume to our recent industry that it grows a lot, to the bike store industry, right? So you schedule a meeting online for buying a new bike, right? Basically, with our tool, you can also increase the amount of meetings for high margin services you offer. If you say, well, selling a bike brings more cash to my company than having a service for a bike, or just, adjusting the wheel of the bike. It's just, €2, but selling a bike brings you 10,000 euros. You prioritize and you offer more meetings to sell bikes. But then a day before the day comes, you say, well, if I don't have enough meetings for selling bikes, I open the calendar for those service meetings to make sure that my people are still busy. And then basically you have people who don't book a meeting, but they come in your store and say, hey, I want to buy a bike, right? So either way, you have a big screen in your entrance and they type in their credentials, and you have someone in your store checking who it is, or you have somebody with a tablet in your hand typing in the credentials, and this client says, oh, I want to buy a bike. You prioritize him, and the next available slots, boom, he gets. Waiting time 2 minutes. Or he says, well, here's my old bike. Please, can you check if my wheel and my brakes are properly working? And you say, well, that's like a €10 job. This guy has to wait an hour maybe, because prioritized is the meeting to sell a bike, which is, from a margin point of view, much more attractive than simply checking the brakes of a bike, right? I hope this example was understandable somehow. And you can do that in every industry. If you look at the high-end retail industry, we're based in Munich. If you go here, downtown Munich, there are sometimes queues in front of the high-end companies, the big brands. So how cool would it be if one of your VIP clients is checking in and you realize, oh, this guy just checked in, so I prioritize him. Although there's a big queue outside, this guy shows up and you sent him a QR code. The guy at the door is scanning it and you prioritized him. And this guy is surpassing the queue. And just imagine what reaction that is. Everybody in the queue says, what the hell? Who is that? How can I become as important as this guy? How much do I have to buy to skip the queue, right? To skip the line. So these are the funny things you can do with queuing in connection with scheduling. And then whether it be for bikes or big fashion brands, or for government, if you go to one of our Kreisverwaltungsreferate or
which is the county administration officers, yes.
Thank you. Like that, doesn't matter. We don't care what the service is or what the place. You can basically treat that all pretty much the same, right?
To our audience, I was wondering, how do you guys think Timify can expand its reach? Emmanuel, another question, because we now realize you have small SMEs and really big enterprise customers. How do you approach them differently? What's your different go-to-market strategy there?
Well, the SMB clients, we highly appreciate them. But basically they register via our homepage, and basically that's a self-registration process. Corporate enterprise company, we have active outreach. We spend really human resources on talking to them, interacting with them, having meetings, providing them proper onboarding. Sometimes, and I totally understand that, companies don't even want Timify to appear. So they connect us via our very well-defined and structured API. And we are a white label solution totally embedded into the IT architecture and landscape of our clients. So you don't even realize that you book a meeting, except you read the data privacy policy. That's where we mentioned. But operationally, you don't realize that it's Timify. And we do not have an ego saying, well, but we need our logo on your landing page. As long as it works for you, I am a happy service provider, right? In the enterprise segment, I clearly have to say the coverage of clients is important, right? It is very, very important. I think not being for ages now part of the SaaS industry, I think many companies underestimated the effort and the requirements needed to keep clients, to basically not only sign a client, but also keep clients as happy clients for quite a long term. Because you need to interact, you have to schedule your fixes weekly, monthly, bi-yearly, whatever it is, right? But you need a counterpart, you need somebody you can play with on the other side. In a big corporation, those people change, they move on to new jobs, etc. pp. So you need a good coverage, not only before you sign a contract, but also after you sign a contract. And then it always sounds easy to connect and implement new IT, but in the end, that is many times still people business, to make sure that everything runs smoothly and your software is properly used on the client side.
I was thinking about a question. I should write them down and pay not so much attention to what you're saying, because I completely forgot. Let us go a little bit into the finances, just a tiny bit. Last time you raised, according to Crunchbase, funding was in 2020, and so far you've raised, according to them, 11.5 million euros. I was wondering, how do you balance rapid growth with financial sustainability, given the current environment of higher interest rate, plus just recently much more insecure world with the Trump tariff introduction here, which may or may not wreak havoc on the global economy?
Well, here I think I have a big advantage, coming out of the banking industry, being a bit more old school. I learned the hard way that you should earn first money before you spend it, right? So that's pretty much my own personal DNA. First earning the money, and then defining how to spend it. Nevertheless, growth, it's still a growth game, right? So you have to always be on the edge. So cash on the bank account is nice, for all CEOs, let you sleep well, but it's unproductive liquidity, right? So you have to invest it in terms of more sales, more product, whatever you currently need. So honestly, I can't give you an all answering and all solving answer. It's simply a trade-off, right? Sometimes you have to be a bit more on the risky side. Sometimes you have to be a bit more on the safe side. Nevertheless, as we touched it before, profitability is key these days, and at the same time you have to grow. So you have to find a proper balance. That I think depends on your shareholder structure. Are they willing to provide more cash? Then you can be more aggressive. Are they not? Then you should be more restrictive. So there is no right or wrong. I think every company has to find its own way based on the very clear requirements: become profitable, become self-sustaining, but you also have to grow. And somewhere in between there, you have to find your own way.
That's right. And I remember what I was wanting to ask you before that question, because the simple Pareto principle, 80-20, I've realized a lot of companies make 80% of the revenue and therefore profit with 20% of the clients. That goes into what you've been telling about keeping your most important clients happy.
Yeah, true. But at the same time, it's easier to say than really to do. You should not be dependent on a couple of big clients, right? That's even from investor point of view, they don't like to see the bulk risk in your top line.
Mm-hmm. Going a little bit into team and leadership values, what are the core values that define the Timify culture, or Timify culture, sorry?
Well, I do have a big history in sports. Besides working and playing and spending time with my family, I'm totally into sports. I played semi-professional baseball in Germany, which is not common at all, but it was fun back in the days. So I do know what teamwork is all about, right? So the core principles basically for me is number one, speak up culture. I need people independent from their role and responsibility to speak up. I need to know what's good, what's bad, what they like, what they don't like. In the end, we find agreement, we find a compromise, and then I don't care what happened before or who was on the other side of the discussion. After we exchanged all critical points, after everybody raised his position and clearly showed speak up culture, we go in the same direction. That's number one. Number two is clearly teamwork. And the funny thing is, people always ask me, what do you understand by teamwork? And the reality is, on a daily basis, it's different. On a daily basis, you work in different teams, different groups, different colleagues. So your position, your role, and what is required to make this team a well-performing team is different, right? So just ask yourself, what can I do to make this project, this sprint, this team a good one? If it means that nobody's taking notes and I, as the CEO, should do that, well, hell, I do. If it helps, I do, no matter what, right? I can ask somebody, or I make sure that somebody's taking notes, just as a stupid example. But every team has to make sure that it's professional, it's working, and to simply enter into different roles. So teamwork for me is super important. I don't like finger pointing culture. I hate that. And number three is clearly ownership and responsibility. I worked long enough in big corporates, and I'm always exploding if I hear the sentence, somebody should do something. Well, I worked in companies with over 100,000 employees, and I never had a colleague whose name was somebody, and I never saw the somebody doing something, right? So take ownership and responsibility. If you want something to be done, ask this person, ask this team very clearly. And if you realize a spot, I could hire 100 more people in Timify, right? But currently, that's not the time to do so. So I have more jobs to allocate than people I can ask for, right? And that means just take ownership and responsibility. Do things. I'd rather have people do 1,000 things and do 100 errors rather than doing 10 things and 1 error, right? I don't care about errors. Do errors. If you do things, even if it's in relation to clients, we can talk about that. But not doing things, not answering to clients, not picking up a ball, not picking up a loose end. Sometimes we simply have to accept, okay, after we talked about it, nobody's taking care. Let's leave it there till we hire somebody who is taking care. But at least we should tackle that topic. We should pick it up. We should not be afraid of picking up things we might not be an expert. That happens, then we look at it, we push it as far as we can. If we make an error, we learn, but we get up the next day. So take ownership and responsibility is the third. Speak up culture, teamwork, ownership, and responsibility. That are my three core values.
Lessons for future entrepreneurs, maybe even actionable. What's the one piece of advice you wish you had received before starting at Timify?
There's one thing I underestimated, I have to admit, that although we are progressing on a daily basis and our development is really going upwards, I underestimated that it's going upwards, but in high waves, right? It's going up and down. The trend is going in the right direction, but I underestimated that it's really going in waves. 1 week you overachieve all your goals, everything runs smooth, and you're super happy. And the next week, everything turns around totally the opposite, right? So honestly, I underestimated how wavy the journey is to grow. It's not every day a little step. It's sometimes a big step forward and then also a big step in the negative way. And I think as long as the trend is in the right direction and this wave is going upwards, you're on a good track, but simply accept that there are also times and challenges that hit you hard, right?
You're totally right. I'd like to go a little bit as with the last few questions, looking ahead for Timify. 2 questions are now coming, typical standards, and I assume you have to say twice yes. Are you open to talk to new investors?
Always.
Are you looking for talented people to join your team?
As well.
See? What's your long-term vision for Timify and what's next?
Well, basically our strategy is to really become the global leader in sophisticated enterprise scheduling solutions. We reached EBITDA break even last year, November, December. It's a little more to be cash flow positive. And then basically I want to grow. Product wise, I already said, next to new skills in our AI-based Timify assistant, queuing or line management becomes our next topic we want to deploy this year. Many clients from us already ask. It creates a lot of traffic and tension, and basically having a great and powerful scheduling tool. It's just, we don't start from scratch for queuing. It's just a little add-on we produce. And honestly, I want to see many happy clients using Timify and people using online appointments. That would be my dream.
That is pretty great. Emmanuel, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. Only one question left. Where can people connect to you and learn about Timify? We'll, as always, link down your LinkedIn profile here. I assume everybody who's interested in investing in the company, they can reach out straight there. And there would be an HR link for Timify where people can apply.
So people can directly apply on our homepage. You can directly reach me over LinkedIn, and I send you a booking link, of course, so you can directly book your slot with me in my calendar.
Via Timify.
Yeah, Timify, of course.
Yes. To our audience, the closing question. What's the one question you would ask Emmanuel? Drop it in the comments below. Emmanuel, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.
Whether you're just starting out or scaling your security program, building trust and demonstrating strong security practices is more important than ever. Banter automates compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2 and more, saving you time, money and effort while strengthening customer trust. Plus, with automated security questionnaires and a customer-facing trust center, you can streamline security reviews and showcase your IT infrastructure security. Over 9,000 global companies, including Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora, already trust Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. Get an exclusive $1,000 discount now at vanta.com/startupradio.